Hello, hello. It's been a while. I seem like I say this, I'm going to be a broken record and I'm going to say it because this seems to be my signature sign on, I guess, of like, it's been a while. I keep on saying I'm going to post more regularly. Anyway, so I'll just say it because there I am. Yeah, so gosh, it's been, I know I left a couple of videos, like one when I was at the Grand Canyon. Was that a couple months ago? And then one from the Black Canyon and the Gunnison. So, sort of some videos, but I just wanted to come on here and share a little bit more deeply about the past couple months. Yeah, the reason I went silent, it's been a rough couple of months. I had something happen a couple of months ago that was just deeply, deeply triggering for me, and I really went into some deep healing space of going into what was activated. Um, and doing some deep healing that's been a very long time coming. So it's just, this journey of healing and then this outer journey, they're one and the same ultimately, right? Like I've been finding myself saying recently, um, sorry, I'm just getting over a cold. And no, it wasn't COVID, but it's a cold that I'm still clearing out of my chest mostly, but I feel fine. Anyway, but you'll hear that in my voice. Um, so something happened that I got triggered, right? And so it's just a further and further deepening of my respect and appreciation and understanding of what that actually means to be triggered, and then the healing process. Um, it's humbling. It's so many things. I'll try to be somewhat cogent here as I'm sharing. So something happened that I got triggered, and it was interesting. The thing about triggers for me is that they're physiological events. They're like a nervous system electrical storm, kind of, where something happens, an event happens, it's a trigger, and then the nervous system just goes off and does its thing. And I'll tell you, it can be so intense. And I think this is true. I'm going to say this, but it might not be globally true, but I think the intensity of the response to the trigger is related to the intensity of the trauma that you've experienced in the past. I don't think that's always true. I think because this happens a lot, and I think this is something we need to be really careful about as humans and also as healers or as people who are working on healing from stuff, actively working. Um, there can be this trauma comparison that happens. I've heard people say this to me, like, I know what happened to me wasn't as bad as what happened to you, or I've heard people say the opposite, like myself included sometimes. It's just, I think it's this human attempt to place ourselves kind of in the human spectrum, right? So I think that the intensity of the response can be correlated with the intensity of the trauma you experience. But I think also not always. I think, we each experience, I always say this, there is no order of magnitude in traumas, really, because each of us is experiencing our trauma, whether whether we or someone outside us might deem it like less intense than some other trauma. It doesn't matter. It's still our nervous system getting overwhelmed in the moment. Trauma, by definition, is an overwhelm of the nervous system where, the fight flight, the sort of autonomic survival strategies kick in that moment. And then our physiology takes over and, helps us survive in that moment physically sometimes, but emotionally. And then if we're not able to resolve it at the time, it gets stored. And then we get to address it later if we choose to, or if life leads us to that. But anyway, so the intensity of this trigger over the past couple months really took me out. It's been a very rough couple of months. And, now there's been like a few times where I've thought I came, some of the language I've been using is coming through the fire. Um, and there's been a number of times where I thought I came through it, and then very quickly I would be right back in it again. And, in retrospect now, because I am at a place where I'm able to be in retrospect about it, which is awesome. Um, there's so many things at play. Part of it is, for me, a big part of it is, this balance between honoring the original trauma by honoring my current experience, because it's reflected. The current experience is directly related to the original trauma. So it's honoring that, and it's not judging that or making myself wrong for feeling anything that I'm feeling. And it's noticing how these patterns can be so familiar to us that it's almost like, even though it's super painful, it's familiar. So there's some part of us that prefers it because it's familiar. So I've been using the phrase recently, and it being addicted to suffering. Or, there's a lot of talk. In fact, I was interviewed for a podcast a few months ago. I'll put the link in the comments here. It was on a podcast called The Juicy Pause. And I was interviewed about the drama triangle. And I know I've talked about that in these videos, but the drama triangle is such an important thing. And what it is, it's a codependent triangle and an unconscious triangle that addiction is a big part of it, where there's the victim, the perpetrator, and the rescuer. Those are the 3 points on the drama triangle. And when you've had trauma, or most of us are in this drama triangle where in the healing world, you hear this a lot, people talking about being stuck in victim consciousness or playing the victim, and how unhealthy that is. And it's a tough thing because, as someone who's doing deep healing work from deep trauma, you kind of dance in that space a lot. It's like, for me, a big part of the story was repression of memories, and thus repression of a lot of deep emotion, right? So my life, I was used to repressing, and so many of us learn that, right, in our upbringing, not to feel things. We're very well trained not to feel things. There's so many times I hear people talk about negative emotions, and a lot of us disown anger or disown deep grief or crying, right? Like the whole, like, oh, don't cry, or, sometimes it's like, don't cry, or, it's unsafe to cry. You'll get judged. You'll get punished for crying. Other times it's well-intentioned. It's like, oh, there, don't cry. It's okay. But what we learn is to not just let our feelings flow, right? So there can be confusion for me about when I'm just feeling feelings, or when I've been triggered and this cascade of feelings happens, and the victim place, right? Because it can get confusing. And what I can do is, when someone says or points out to me that they see me going into victim place, which is a disempowered place, right? It's not to be judged. It's just to be noticed that it's a disempowered place. And if you stay in victim place, if you believe the internal story that you're powerless, you're a victim, then it's a non-healing space. Healing includes empowerment, regaining your power, right? So it's really more a choice point. It's like, oh, so what I've had to really reckon with is like, wow, again, it's a dance, right? It's like all these emotions come up, and as for healing, you need to allow them to move through. Emotions are energy in motion. It's about movement. It's about allowing it to move. So it's not about pushing it back down. So if somebody says you're being in victim place again, what I can do with that is be like, oh shoot, I need to not feel this, need to push it back down. But that's not what it is. It's feeling it from an empowered place, not from a like, oh, poor me place, not from a collapse. Like, to me, victim energy is collapse energy. You'll notice it in your posture. Like, I've been really slumpy and walking like shuffly, right? So what I've really been sitting with these past couple days is like, wow, I really was, this trigger took me from feeling all the emotions into a victimized, collapsed place that I've just been stuck in for a couple of months, in and out of it, coming up for air at times. So it's a delicate balance, so it's like finding a way to feel the feelings. And the big key, I think, is resistance, right? So the way resistance shows up for me is the emotions are there. I judge myself for having them. That then puts me into victim place. Um, so the work, I think, is to, the feelings are there. That's what the trigger is. So you have a choice: either try to force it to go away, off, or numb it. Oftentimes, addictive things, Netflix is your friend or not. So we've all got our choice, scrolling on the phone, or the biggies of alcohol, drugs, those kinds of things, but numbing behaviors. Um, so it's to notice the feelings. It's to uh, like witness, observe the ways that you're coping with it, and always, and this is something I did do this time. I was mostly in compassion with myself about it, instead of self-judgment, because it's rough. It's physiological. It's our nervous system, right, doing its thing. So it's not to be judging ourselves for any of it. So, um, but I realized that my victimhood, my drama triangle, I was feeling victimized by myself, by my own physiology. I found myself saying things like, well, and I think this is true, and this is important for healing. I really got a deeper appreciation for the reality, the physiological reality of PTSD. So I had to really own that for myself, like, wow, this is PTSD at work. Um, so it's been a couple of month journey of this, and now I'm kind of like, wow, because somebody sort of called me on with this trigger that I was painting them as like a perpetrator and me being the victim. And I knew I wasn't doing that, but yet I was like, there was truth to the victim thing. I was like, yeah, but I am in victim space, because I could feel how just hopeless I felt, and disempowered and all of that. And I could feel it. It was my physiology taking over, because cognitively, mentally, I knew that it wasn't true. I was feeling like utterly alone and isolated, and nobody loves me, nobody cares. And I know that's not true. I'm blessed with so many people in my life that love me, and I received that a lot. So I knew, like, but I know that's not true, but yet I felt it, in every fiber of my being. So it's like, whoa. So that's what I was feeling. I just realized the past couple of days, like, dang, I was feeling victimized by myself, by my own physiology. So just the recognition of that, the recognition of like, whoa, I was really into victim. It doesn't lead anywhere, but it's like that whirlpool that just takes you down, 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 right? You're in it. So, but just the awareness of, and I'm so grateful for that person that called me out on that, even though it wasn't fully accurate, there was enough truth to it that it helped me into my truth, which was like, whoa, okay, feeling victimized by my own physiology. So then it's like, okay, so now I get to, so what are things that I can do that are that are life affirming, that, and there's so much, I'm going to shout out somebody here in a second. It's all about nervous system healing. And there's a woman that I've been doing some of her trainings. Her name's Irene Lyon, Lyon. I'll put her name in the comments too. She's a nervous system healing maestro, let's say. And she's so generous with her offering. She's got a lot of free content out on YouTube. And her content, it's nothing new to me, much of it, because my work through craniosacral therapy, I've learned the stuff that she's talking about. I started learning decades ago, back in the 80s, about the nervous system and craniosacral therapy, which is one of my primary modalities, or has been. I learned it was all about helping the parasympathetic nervous system strengthen, because many of us with trauma get into fight or flight, right? So that's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. But what Irene does that's so brilliant is she's studied this stuff so deeply and has brought it together in such a beautiful way that's so accessible, and that's very practical and tangible techniques to heal the nervous system. So I realized these past couple months I've been in a place of being sucked into the wounding of the nervous system. And so, with all the grace in the world for myself, like, I don't want to get lost for months anymore in nervous system wounded place, and there are these techniques. I've got these resources available to me right now. It's through Irene's work, so it's like doing the work when I'm not in the triggered state is especially when I need to be doing the work. So it's like now recommitting to myself to healing my nervous system, you know. Um, so yeah, look her up, Irene Lyon, Lyon. It's really great. So if you find yourself struggling with being triggered and being taken offline and being taken out of your life for a while, um, you know, it's a really um, there's a lot of content out there that will help you. So that's the inner journey that I've been on the past couple months. And, you know, I don't know if you may feel energetically, I feel a little like I just kind of get out of the spin cycle, you know. So now there's a certain recovery, right? And so, again, to all the grace in the world for myself and for anyone else that goes through that. So the outer journey, here I am. It's like 10 months I've been on the road. I'm in Northern California again. I'm house sitting for a friend right now. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. But what I've realized, you know, I thought I was coming out west here to find where I was going to live, and the journey for me has been, you know, anywhere I've gone. I mean, a lot of it I've been in a difficult place emotionally, triggered state. So it's not the best state to be doing this exploration from. I had sort of fantasies of myself going to all these different places and hiking and exploring and going into town and getting a sense for the town. But a lot of my journey has been going to Airbnbs and just having to hunker down and kind of be inward, you know. So I just have to trust the journey though, because I'm driving through these places and oh my God, there's so much beauty out here. And nothing has landed as far as like I've heard so many stories of this, right? Somebody that's traveling and they're like, I knew as soon as I got there that this was where I was meant to be. And that's what I've been looking for, and that has not happened. So what does that mean? What I'm realizing now is that like this journey needed to do its work on me. And it has, you know, I mean, all the stuff I'm talking about, the emotional stuff, has been the work that this journey's needed to do on me. So I don't know what this all means in terms of where I'm going to live, to tell you the truth. And I'm in a place of really, I wouldn't say I'm not anxious to settle. I guess sometimes I am, depending on my emotional state, but eager to settle somewhere, to land somewhere, because it's difficult being, for me, being unmoored. It feels like I'm, you know, as I try to rebuild my business, because I'm very much involved in that too. It's like you run up against logistical things like, you know, I've been trying to like open different accounts, like business accounts, because I really am um, shifting my business into a different type of work. You know, I'm going to be doing more virtual work and remote work and more of the like pure emotional healing. My work has largely been hands-on physical healing with the emotional component. But now I'm finding the virtual work that what I'm really good at is being on a journey with someone, on a healing journey. And it's their inward journey that I'm a good guide for, you know. So I feel like that's the work that I love to do. The hands-on work is wonderful too. But given my lifestyle right now, you know, I'm not sure landing somewhere and building up a physical practice of hands-on work is a whole other thing, right? So I'm working on building up a virtual practice with remote work and want to offer more programs and things like that. So um, I'm starting to come, you know, I have a new website that I'm going to be launching soon, and that defines my work a little bit differently. But as part of that, you know, I had my old business structure set up back in Massachusetts, and as I'm setting up new ones, everything like a new business accounts or whatever, it's all about like what's your address. I need a physical address for my new business, and I don't have it. So that's where I'm feeling kind of the urging to have a physical address that I can have as a business home base. Um, but in the meantime, um, there are times when I'm very much in the trust of the flow of this. Like I can feel, I've said this all along, right? It feels guided, and I can feel that energy that's kind of got my back, that's with me, that's just whispering to me like, it's okay, it's okay. This is unfolding exactly as it needs to, so trust, it's all going to be okay. So there are days like today, like right now, where I can really lean into that and feel trust of that. But boy, there are other days where I'm just like in the fear, like what, you know, it's hard to tolerate. Um, so, and that's just part of the journey. It's the ebbs and the flows, the cycles, you know, so it's being with it all. I am going to be heading back east in about a month or so, and I'm going to stay for a couple months. Um, my niece is going to be having a baby, so I'm going to go back and be around to meet my great nephew and to be with my niece and my family while that's happening. And then I'm not sure where I'm going from there. You know, everything has opened up. This plan of moving, quote, out west and finding a place to live out here, since nothing has really landed, what's happened for me is like the entire country has opened up now. I'm like, at one point I was like, New Hampshire's sounding pretty good. And so when I come back east, I'm going to be really curious to see what it feels like to be there. Um, and I've got some friends down in the Atlanta area and some friends in Florida that have urged me to come visit, and I'm excited to go visit them. So I'll be doing a little bit of exploration of the eastern part of the country in different parts. I didn't even consider the southeast as a possibility. I'm not sure, so I need to just go and feel it, I guess, and see if something lights up. And if it, so I'll probably be doing that in the fall. And if something lights up there, then then it'll light up there, and that's what I'll do. And if not, I get to just continue the exploration, and maybe it will be New Hampshire. Who knows? But in the meantime, I just continue learning, about myself, about the healing journey, about the healing process, and boy, it's powerful. And so I'm going to be, I'm wanting to re-engage with my business, sending out newsletters, things like that, and start to, I don't know, be of service more, to share more of what I'm learning. And I'm about to, a program that just came to mind, I'm going to do a free event within the next couple of weeks, like a 3-hour webinar, if you will, called how to navigate massive change, because I feel like I'm living it. So I've got a lot to share. And I know a lot of us, we all are going through massive change. I mean, collectively, everything that's happening economically, just everything, massive change, right? Massive change happening in all of our lives. And I think it looks different for each of us. Some of us have massive personal change, like myself. And I've heard a lot of other people that are moving, that are ending massive cycles in their lives. And it's challenging. But even for those of us that have more of a stable seeming life, I think, in terms of work or home or relationship, there's still massive change all around. So I'm going to be doing this in the next few weeks. Let's see, if you're not on my email list and want to receive, I'll be posting stuff here too, though, so I won't even say that. But yeah, if you want to be on my email list, that I'm going to be announcing this kind of stuff, and you're not, you can go to my website. Actually, you know what? I don't even know if I have a sign-up box there on my website yet. Apologize for that. But you can just put something in the comment here. Just say that you want to be on my email list, and I'll reach out to you, and we'll make that happen. But anyway, I'm going to be announcing that. So I'll be doing that webinar. I don't even like to call it a webinar. Anyway, I'll be doing a thing called How to Navigate Massive Change. Sometime at the end of, what month are we in? It'll be the early July. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to end here. I don't want this to be too long, much longer. But yeah, it's good to be back, to connect. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to try to be more available, more present. All right, sending big love. Hope you're doing okay. Boy, that was a long one, almost 25 minutes. Sorry about that.